If you want to provide your yoga students with the opportunity to create a much more sustainable and accessible and nourishing approach to pigeon pose, then I'm going to tell you right now, stop going into a forceful pigeon and instead move into a activated pigeon. The reason why the activated pigeon is more nourishing for the body is because we aren't arbitrarily stretching into this area and into this area, but instead we are allowing the tissues, the muscles to elongate willingly because of the way that the surrounding muscles are co-activating. So the whole body, this whole area, it comes to play in order to prevent overstretching, in order to encourage the co-activation and the synergistic capacity of the body and the muscles to be able to create a lengthening stretch. Now, stretching and lengthening in the tissues and in the muscles, it is automatically created in order for the body to do some sort of action, some sort of movement. And that is why an active pigeon is going to be far more sustainable and advantageous in the long run for your students and their health and their joint health, because of the fact that it requires a natural activation. Now, the activation will create the necessary lengthening of the tissues because the whole body is going to be involved in the degree that it needs to support and to also create the action of the movement itself. Let me show you what I mean. So, when one leg comes forward, instead of just having your students kind of dump down into their flexibility, get them to come up right here. Now, this angle that's being created in this part of my body, you might not think that it is stretching, but it is, because this angle creates a natural length through this target area. Now, what we're doing is we are simultaneously pressing down to hold the body up. So not only is this muscle naturally actively engaged, but it is also in a lengthening state. So we're not just passively lengthening it. It is lengthening while still remaining with some form of tone and support. And then we've got all these surrounding muscles that are also coming to play to help hold the body up. So we're still getting a stretch here. It is just not a forceful stretch. It is a natural lengthening of the tissues. Now that just takes care of what's happening in the front leg. What about what's happening into the back leg, specifically this hip flexor? We're going to take this active pigeon one step further by drawing the heel towards the back of the body. Now this might be done with the hands on the ground. This is also really great to use blocks, but we're going to start to squeeze the heel towards the back of the body. Foot can be flexed or toes can be pointed. And as you press down and squeeze the heel in, there can be a lift of the chest, again, whether the hands are down or whether the hands are on blocks. And what is happening here is the natural activation of the glute is helping to support the release of this hip flexor. But because we're having to hold the body up in this active pigeon, this hip flexor is remaining in a place where it's not overstretching or over lengthening, and it's not doing damage to the tendons and the ligaments. So instead, we're creating this co-activation in the body. We're not going too low, and we're really utilizing all of these muscular contractions to hold the body up, which inherently creates length and stretching in the tissues. And this is a much more sustainable approach to a pigeon pose as opposed to a passive pigeon pose where the tendons and the ligaments, they often become overly lengthened to accommodate for the lack of muscular support that is required to hold the body or to just generate some sort of action. So action-based pigeon, a resistance active pigeon is really going to be helpful for the longevity of a yoga practice. So share this with your students, try it in your own practice, and let me know how it goes.